Welcome to the Health Coach Nation podcast. My name is Haley Rowe. I'm a marketing and sales coach for health, life, and mindset coaches. And our goal on this show is to help you with your business and all the things that go into it, whether it's your mindset that goes into your business, which is what we're going to talk about today, your marketing, your sales, your time management skills. And today I have a very special guest. Her name is Dr. Jo. And she's a former clinical psychologist turned into a somatic embodiment expert and a holistic healer, as well as a yoga teacher. And she works with women all across the globe on helping them reconnect with their bodies and their nervous systems. And she uses psychology, movement, and spirituality. And what's really interesting is she is an expert at helping you with regulating your nervous system and staying grounded and preventing that burnout. And she tends to work with very high performing women. So for those of you who are listening, who maybe are in your business, you're experiencing burnout, you're not feeling grounded, you're always feeling maybe dysregulated or fear or, afraid of rejection in your business or that kind of stuff. I thought it'd be really good to dive in with Dr. Jo to talk about how can we stay grounded. So Dr. Jo, thanks for being here. Tell me a little bit about your story and what led you to do this work.
Mhm. Thank you so much for having me, Haley. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, so I started early. When I was 12 years old, I was hospitalized for anorexia. And I was fascinated by what the psychologists did there and how they helped me. So I decided I'm going to be a psychologist. And that decision never wavered. So that was kind of a privilege and a gift because I always knew what I was going to do. I was also fascinated by pathology, and I wanted to understand how and why people developed things like eating disorders, depression, all of that. And I knew that I wanted to help people. So that kind of set things in motion. And I knew I wanted to be a psychologist. So I went into psychology. I developed a private practice pretty early, and I did that for 13 years. And then I had a relapse in 2010. And what really turned the corner for me was a yoga body image class. And I discovered that that was the key. And so I knew that Eastern medicine had to be part of my approach in treating people. So I decided to open a new business called Tula Soul and weave in, somatic work, yoga, meditation, and I got a lot more training in those types of medicine. And then I decided to just work with women. And now I'm expanded to a lot of things, embodiment, and I'm also an author. So just my expertise keeps expanding as I'm always learning new things
Yeah,
because I have insatiable curiosity. So,
of
mhm,
course. Yes.
mhm,
And tell me a little bit more about embodiment, because I think a lot of people hear that word and they're like, what does that really mean?
mhm,
And I think a lot of times in the coaching world, for the listeners, a lot of the work we do is cognitive behavioral
mhm,
change. So it's a lot of mind, like thoughts, our
mhm,
thoughts and thought work and all of that. But there's also what you're saying, somatics, where
mhm.
we have to feel it in our body. We can't just tell our mind something and then, hope it sticks or put a positive affirmation on something and then,
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about this. What do you mean by
Mhm.
embodiment?
Okay, well, this largely came out of my own healing as well. I mean, therapy started for me at 12. So I'm very well versed in that, as well as, doing therapy. And I found that for me, healing started to happen in my body. And I wasn't even in charge of this. My body just started shaking and doing and having seizures. And um, so embodiment is about being in your body and not living from here up. Now, women are very disconnected from our body for a variety of reasons. First of all, we're so busy doing things. So we're in our heads, with deadlines and with, to-do lists, things like that. But how often are you aware of what it feels like in your left big toe? That question is kind of like, what?
Not much.
um, but we actually have a brain in our heart and in our stomach. So, in other words, we have neurotransmitters there that send messages to our mind. And our body actually holds a lot more wisdom than our brain because our brain is largely illusions and delusions and conditioning and other people's messaging. So when we can be quiet up here and listen to our body, we actually know a lot more about what we actually need and want. So the practices that I teach are fairly simple, but they're very, very important. So, for example, and I'm coming out with a book called The Embodiment Journal, and every day it's going to have a different practice. So, for example, it'll be something like sit with your feet planted on the earth and just inhale and pretend you're inhaling fresh energy from Mother Earth and draw that energy all the way up into your belly and into your rib cage. And then exhale anything that no longer serves you, any negative energy, back down into Mother Earth through your feet so she can recycle it. And just doing some breaths like that. So, really working with clearing energy and bringing in new energy. And these practices help you get in tune with your body and also start to do some clearing work. The reason that we do this is because our bodies literally hold trauma and tension. And if you think about it, so every time like a trauma or something like that happens, and trauma can be defined as anything that happens too much, too quick, too soon. So it could also be like a positive thing. It doesn't necessarily always have to be a negative thing. So let's say um, suddenly you get a new job, but you weren't quite ready for it, and it's just this big transition. Well, that's kind of traumatic. So your body kind of like freezes and kind of gets stuck in these motions. So your body has to like shake it out. So part of that is also doing some shaking. So I do a lot of like shaking, tapping, doing this, shaking out, things like that. There's so many different techniques that I use, but also it's about interoception and proprioception and neuroception. So interoception is being aware of the body cues inside. So things like when you're hungry, when you're thirsty, a lot of times, or when you're satiated, a lot of times we're not aware of those signals because we cut them off and we eat when it's mealtime or when food is in front of us, when it looks good or when other people are eating, and we aren't aware of when we're full. We just keep eating because till our plate is done or because we emotionally eat. When we're aroused and sexual cues, we often are shut off from those for a variety of reasons. If there's abuse or things like that, and we just have sex because it's time or because we're told to, or and we don't know how to say no. Other things like sensation, temperature, sensation, all of those internal cues, and then proprioception is the sensation around our bodies and being aware of that. And neuroception is our senses and being aware of those. So the more that you get in tune with your body and are embodied, everything changes around you. And the mindfulness too. You're much more mindful. And when you are mindful, you can respond rather than react. And
Yeah.
everything kind of changes. Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
Okay. I love that you say that there can be positive trauma too, because I've
Mhm.
never heard someone say that. And
Mhm.
you're right. Like sometimes you just have big changes go on
Yeah.
too much, too soon, too fast.
Mhm.
And you have these reaction patterns that become, something you keep doing that doesn't end up
Yeah.
serving you. So, what are some of the common, maybe trauma patterns that you
Mhm.
see women in business develop
Mhm.
that aren't serving them or that we should be aware of or work on shifting? Tell me a little more about that.
Mhm. Often, one of the things I see for women is it's still hard for women to speak up and to not apologize and to really own their ideas. I don't know how many times this has happened to me, and I assume it happens to women. I've been in meetings and I have proposed an idea or suggested something, and it's kind of poo pooed or they move on. And then a little bit down the road, a man will bring up my same idea, maybe rephrased a little bit, and it's like, oh, yes, yes, we should adopt that. And it's like, so learning how to um, either reclaim that, or yes, as I said a little while ago, we can, or presenting the idea with a little bit more oomph or a little bit more, even like posture makes a difference. So like when you're sitting up with a straight spine, and this is about embodiment too, and your tone of voice, and instead of presenting something like, well, I was thinking about, maybe this, more like, I have a great idea, we can do this and this is how it will work. You know what I mean? Like doing some of those practices that will really impact how an idea comes across. And when you present it with confidence and with, the right kind of posture, the right kind of like take leadership attitude, then it can come across very differently. And then maybe the man over in the corner isn't going to take over and claim your idea.
Right.
And also this thing about, asking for raises and things like that and not feeling worthy and just sort of accepting, not challenging pay raises and asking for more. All of these things are still part of the workplace, environment, still
Hmm.
very much. And one of the things that I also work on is healing the sister wound. Now, this comes up in the workplace very much. So the sister wound is about, um, women used to, back in the day when it was a matriarch, so queens ruled, and then not and then when men started to compete for land and wanted to keep a woman in the house so they could procreate, so they had kids to work the land, that's when women were separated and they started to compete, of course, for husbands, and then they didn't have those close connections. So I do a women's circle every month, and I'm promoting more and more women to do these because it's so important that we connect in circles. But in the workplace, that shows up as sabotaging each other, competing, cutting each other down, not lifting up and supporting one another, not, sort of pointing out and lifting up, oh, look at how great she did, and doing that kind of thing. So I think one of the things that is really, really important for women is to really support each other and not be in this competitive mode all the time, and instead help each other out and be more collegial and more collaborative. And I'm not saying that
Yeah.
happens everywhere, but there really is this sort of um, competition, kind of cattiness and comparison kind of, and this is a sister wound and it shows up everywhere, but very much in the workplace. And I understand there are limited roles for women,
Hmm.
although that keeps all of us down when there's that kind of, attitude going on.
Yeah.
So really kind of shifting the playbook in terms of not being in this competitive mode, but rather cheering and lifting up our sisters everywhere in whatever position they're in.
Yeah, I love
Mhm,
that. And I think, one of the things that when it comes to burnout, I think some
mhm.
of the things that burn us out are not physically that we're just doing so much work.
That's right.
I think it's a lot of mental burnout that comes from competing against other women,
Yes.
comparing yourself
Yes.
to other women,
Yes. Yes.
and all the other habits that we come into with
Mhm.
mindset. So if
That's
someone's
right.
falling into a lot of like overwhelm, comparison,
Mhm.
I'm not
Mhm.
doing enough, I'm not good enough,
Mhm.
how do they start to raise their inner beliefs and get out of that mode?
Mhm.
Because that, for a lot of them, is causing burnout.
Mhm. Yeah, first of all, perspective, like pause. Think of the last time you felt joy, okay? It's not going to be at work. The last time you felt joy is usually in relationship. And when you think about that, then you have to adjust, okay, so why am I thinking about work so much? Why am I spending so much valuable real estate in my head obsessing about work? This is not conducive to a healthy lifestyle or well being. So it's about getting perspective about, okay, so what is work to me and why am I making it my life? It is one aspect of life, it is not your whole life. And then figuring out, okay, so how am I going to, regulate my nervous system about work? And there's a lot of different regulation nervous system. I suggest people work with a coach or a therapist to learn these techniques and learn how to manage their thinking about work and kind of compartmentalize it. I have a technique that I suggest women work with and kind of creates a file or a box in their mind where when they have work thoughts, let's say out of work time, they just sort of think, okay, I'm going to put this in my box, and you can decorate it, make it fancy, however you want. And that way, that you're not dismissing it. You're not, forgetting about it, but you're putting it away so that you can attend to other things. So it's kind of like you're tricking your brain into thinking, okay, I'm not forgetting about you. I'm going to attend to you, but I don't have to attend to you right now because I'm going to go back to what is happening. I'm going to come back to the present and just be mindful and do what I want to do right now, which is play or read or
Mhm.
just be present. So it's kind
That
of a
is a
tucking away,
great
compartmentalizing. Yeah.
That's a great
Mhm.
tip. Yes, because so often we're with our family, but we're thinking about work or we're working and then we're thinking
Yes.
about our family and we're not really where we are.
Yeah.
And then it takes
Mhm.
away from the joy of that experience. And I
Mhm.
have a similar, I don't call it a box, but I
Mhm.
have something in my program where we say, put it on the later list. Park the
Yeah.
idea, put it on the later
Yeah.
list. You can always come
Yep.
back to it, but it doesn't need to
Exactly.
be right now.
Yeah, yeah, same
So,
kind of idea where it's like get it out of your head. And I also
mhm.
have another idea. We have a lot of us have anxiety and like free floating anxious thoughts. And I call them little worry bugs. And I think about like just letting them fly out of your ears, like little worry bugs, and
Ooh,
exhaling and having them on the exhale, just having them fly out, just like considering, and they can go out your nose or out your mouth or just like fly out your ears. Because
oh,
they're
that's
just
so good.
yeah, they're just useless little bugs and you don't need them. And they're not going to do anything. They're bugs. They're not going to do anything for you. They're just like little critters. They don't solve
Hmm.
anything. And they're kind
Yeah,
of pests. So you just don't need them. Worry thoughts don't accomplish anything.
yeah.
And the other thing is just really practicing being mindful and right here, because I have this saying like, and a yoga teacher taught me that. What time is it now? Where am I? Here. Here, now. That is all I need to know. That's it. And
Brilliant.
just coming back to like right now. And another one that I say when you're anxious is right here, right now, I am safe. Right
Yeah.
here, right now, I am safe. Just kind of again
Mhm.
grounding, or just like planting your feet on the earth and doing some deep breathing. Just because we make things a catastrophe when they're not. You
For
know,
sure.
I have this deadline, and oh my god, oh my god. Well, you're gonna live. you know,
Yeah,
and the other thing is asking for help, being okay with asking for help. We're not perfect and we need help. And if it's more of a sisterly environment at work, then lean on your sisters. Have it a supportive environment where you can go, girl, I need some help. And then they're going to ask you for help. And it's more of a really supportive, loving environment, you know,
exactly.
and go out for lunch and have fun. I was going to say have a drink, but whatever. Have a
Have
drink or
fun.
not, doesn't
Yes.
matter. But
Yes.
just be able to like shoot the shit in the middle of the day so you're not just grinding all the time.
I
Mhm.
love it. So, okay, if people are like, this is really interesting. I like some of these techniques that were shared today. How can they connect with you and find out more about what you do?
Sure. My website is tulasoul.com. That's TULASOUL.com. And my email is joe at tulasoul. So jo at TULASOUL.com. My Instagram is holistic coach Joe. That's two C's. HOLI. Whatever, holistic coach Joe with two C's.
Yes, we'll put that in the
Um,
show notes.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, thank you. And yeah, I love to hear from everybody. I've got a lot of, and I've got like, I also have a monthly women's moon circle that I love to invite everybody to. And I have workshops and I have retreats coming up. I do a silent retreat in November, which is really, really powerful for stripping down all of the defenses and just going there. It's really, really a fun, neat event. And I have another Goddess Warrior retreat coming up too. So,
Amazing.
and my book
Wow.
coming out, which is going to be great. I have co-authored a couple of books, but this one's going to be really good. Embodiment Journal.
Nice.
Mhm.
Congratulations.
Thank
All
you.
right. So give her a follow, Holistic Coach Joe. Give me a follow. I'm at Haley_Rowe. We're going to go live actually together shortly. So thank you for being here, Dr. Joe, and we'll talk to
Thank
you
you
soon.
so much. Thank you. Appreciate you.